All right, so I want to start with a big idea. The problem of world hunger is completely solvable, completely preventable. Now, be honest with yourself. Do you believe me when I tell you that one of the biggest problems this world has faced in the past several centuries is completely solvable? Well, when we look at the data that we've gathered across the past couple decades, right now the world is producing enough food to give everyone about 2,700 calories per day. So that's enough to keep everyone well fed, well nourished. And yet, every single day, 785 million people go hungry. 98% of them are in third world and developing countries. Over 500 million of them live in Asia. However, the most food insecure area of the entire world is sub-Saharan Africa, where 1 in 4 are chronically malnutrition, which means they experience regular periods of starvation and malnourishment. And I come here telling you that we can solve this. This seems like such a daunting problem, but when we look at it, it is solvable. So, what's the problem? Why are so many people still dying every single day? It's because hunger is not just about hunger anymore. We have to look at so many different issues, like, to start, poverty. So, in the developing world today, 1 in 3 people live on approximately $1.25 per day. Guys, that's less than a song download on iTunes. And I buy songs on iTunes all the time without even thinking about it. When you only have $1.25 per day to buy food, medicine, clothing, shelter, transportation, and education for your family, food isn't always at the top of the list. Not to mention that only having $1.25, even when you are using all of it for food, you can't buy the right food. So you're not only keeping your family unfed, you're keeping them fed with the wrong materials. You're not keeping them nutrition enough. They're not getting the right food they need to, let's say, focus in school. And when children can't focus in school, they fall behind in their education, they drop out, they lose job opportunities, and they fall back into the same cycle of poverty they've experienced their entire lives. We also have to look at things like environmental issues. So, climate change has caused a drastic increase in the number of floods, droughts, typhoons, you name it, all over the world. For example, in 2011 and 2012, there was a massive drought in Western Africa that set back their food production by 2 years. 2 years. That's what you call a famine. They're still recovering from that. We also have to look at human environmental issues, like deforestation. Deforestation in Brazil right now is causing massive erosion, which can wipe out entire towns, houses, farms. It makes soil infertile. You can't grow food on that anymore. In addition, we have to look at things like conflict and war. So, when you look at countries in the Middle East, or even countries in Eastern Africa, it's clear to see that refugees in the hundreds of thousands exit those countries every year. And the countries they go into have an even harder time feeding them because they're already food insecure. They don't have the welfare or the infrastructure to be able to sustain them. This causes even more problems for the people we see there in those countries every single day. Also, we have to look at how starvation is used as a weapon. There have been reports recently of Syrian militants barricading entire towns, blocking them off from their food sources, poisoning wells, killing farmers, destroying farms, entire farms just gone in the blink of an eye. And when you take away someone's ability to feed their family, someone's ability to feed their loved ones, well, they'll do just about anything, wouldn't you? This also causes infrastructures to collapse and economies to become even more unstable, making it even harder for a family in one of these countries to predict how much money they're going to need for food in a given week. It makes it harder for them to establish sustainable infrastructure, harder for them to establish sustainable welfare in these states, which makes it even harder for them to keep political unrest at a minimum, which allows militant groups to rise back up. In addition, poverty rates rise. Do you see the cycle I'm getting at here? It's more than just one problem, and the sooner we address this, the sooner we find a solution. So, I want to cycle back. Do you believe me when I tell you that the problem of world hunger is solvable? Really? So, I can stand here and tell you about this complex cycle of issues, this complex and intricate network of problems that we have to face, or I can start giving you some solutions. So, like in the beginning, let's start big. Internationally, what can we do to help solve world hunger? Well, first and foremost, we need to encourage collaboration. And governmental organizations like the UN, the EU, NATO, we have to make sure that they're focused on helping the countries in need, allowing them to promote the sustainable infrastructure that they need, and working from the grassroots up, because that is the only way that sustainable change will be made in these countries. Think about it. A welfare system in a third world country is not going to be able to be sustainable if the local governments there cannot sustain it, cannot withhold it. At a non-governmental organization level, these nonprofit organizations that we donate to regularly, that are going into these countries and affecting change, what do they need to start doing more of? Well, they need to start maximizing the local resources these countries have. They need to start looking at exactly what they're working with. For example, there's a man by the name of Edwin Sabuhoro who went into a small village in Rwanda, and he started looking and seeing what sustainable resources that area had. He saw that one of the main income sources for these people was gorillas. They were poaching the gorillas, sometimes eating them, and then selling their furs for profits. So he went in and he showed them, instead of poaching the gorillas, how to use them as a tourism destination. As more tourists came in, they started making more and more money, which he invested in making sustainable organic farms in the area. He taught the locals how to work the farms. He taught them how to sell the food and make money off of them, which they then reinvested in education in the area to keep people in the area. After this, the cycle continued. And he's now thinking about expanding this model to the rest of the communities in Rwanda that he's working with. But before he ever did any of this, Edwin spent an entire year with these people, living with them, eating with them, working with them, understanding their problems at every level, understanding exactly what resources they had to work with, understanding what barriers they had to overcome. And then after that, he was able to affect change at a maximum level that is still going strong. So we need these non-governmental organizations, these NGOs, to go in and work with local leadership, to invest in the people there. When they do that, they'll be able to firsthand see the maximum change they can affect. And when that happens, the money we donate, the money they spend tireless hours fundraising will go to making a maximum impact in these areas. Okay? So on a local level, let's bring it down to local hunger. In your backyards, what can you do to affect change? Well, we need to invest in agriculture again. And I'm not just talking about buying more tractors. When we invest in agriculture, it means we're making food more efficiently, more effectively, more cost-effectively, and healthier. Did you know that studies show that agriculture, when invested in, is 5 times more efficient in reducing poverty in any given area than investing in any other sector of government? 5 times more efficient. That's because it increases job markets, it decreases food markets, it makes food healthier for a certain area, and it encourages innovation and creativity in the job market as well. Agriculture is not something that has been heavily invested in the past, and we have to make up a lot of ground. In addition, we have to look at how much food we're wasting. Right now, 1/3 of all of the food that we produce in this world goes to waste. It's never eaten, it's never consumed, it's never recycled, it's never composted. It just goes to waste. 1/3. There are organizations in towns all across the country that focus on food recovery. We need to invest in them. We need to hear what they're all about. We need to give them the spotlight because the work that they're doing can feed so many people. And at a personal level, what can we do to affect change through our everyday lives when it comes to hunger? Like I said, spread awareness. We need to focus on letting people know that this issue exists. Just because we don't see hunger doesn't mean it's not there. Visit a soup kitchen, visit a food bank, take your friends with you. I cannot accurately describe how impactful it is to see hunger firsthand. To see someone you know walk into a soup kitchen. In addition, be aware of the things you're saying. I'm starving. There's nothing to eat in the refrigerator. Saying these things devalues the experiences of people who are actually dealing with them every single day and makes us less aware of what they actually mean. Starving to us is my stomach hurts because I missed lunch today. Starving to a child in a third world country is I can't eat because my stomach hurts so badly. I can't think straight. I can't walk. I can't speak coherently. And lastly, if you really want to, try fasting. Experience hunger for yourself. That's how I got started on this journey of mine. In the 10th grade, my youth group and I fasted for about 30 hours. 30 hours is the approximate time a child in a third world country goes in between meals. 30 hours, over a day. I stopped eating after lunch one day and did not eat until dinner the next day. And by that time, I couldn't think. I could barely stand. I was exhausted, and I had barely done any physical activity. But I remember hour 2 of my fast, I got home, and I walked into my kitchen, and the first thing I did was I picked up an apple, and I was about to bite into it when I remembered that I was fasting. And I set the apple down, and I thought to myself, wow, my subconscious cannot process the idea of not having food when I get home from school. And I froze. There will come a moment in your life when the realization of your own apathy will paralyze you. Do not ignore this moment. It will change your life. It will change the way you see this world. It will change you. So once again, I ask you, do you believe me when I tell you that the problems of world hunger are solvable? And if your answer is no, then we have work to do. Because the second we start to see these problems as unsolvable or untouchable, or these solutions as unattainable, is the second numbers like 785 million, or $1.25 per day, or 17,000 get worse. 17,000. That's the number of children under the age of 5 every single day that die from hunger-related causes, preventable causes, treatable causes. 17,000. That's the approximate size of the undergraduate student body of a state university. 17,000 is enough children to fill over 200 school buses. That's how many children are dying a day because of preventable causes. Doesn't that make you angry? It should. So, I leave you today with a choice. And this is a choice you're going to have to make every day. But it's one that is necessary. When you go out through your daily life, are you going to go with these ideas in the back of your mind? Are you going to sit there and think about them and then go about your daily life? Or are you going to wake up every morning with a purpose and an action, a plan on how you're going to affect this kind of change in your communities? But I urge you to think quickly, because there are 785 million people right now waiting for your answer.